My brother is the archetypal villain, yearning for a love that eludes him. After the protagonist's marriage, he finds himself in a state of despair, contemplating the finality of death. That day, I returned home with a golden-haired suitor. Brother, he is not merely a poor lad. My brother's eyes blazed with fury. Without even donning his shoes, he rushed down from the rooftop, intent on confronting me. The following day, I arrived home once more, this time clutching a prenatal checkup report. Brother, you're going to be an uncle. Are you not delighted? With a composed demeanor, he calmly extracted the sleeping pills lodged in his throat, meticulously wrapping his bloodied wrist with a bandage. I cast a furtive glance at him. Brother, you mustn't die. He let out a sardonic chuckle, picking up a nearby feather duster. Indeed, I shall not perish, for I fear you might bring another golden-haired wretch to dance upon my grave. 1. Everyone claims that my brother is a ruthless villain. Each day, he is either chasing the male protagonist or attempting to seize the female lead. Yet, I beg to differ. My brother has a penchant for rescuing small animals, be it a three-legged kitten or a blind puppy. He unceremoniously scoops them up by the scruff of their necks and brings them home. The lady downstairs cautions him. That cat has 3 legs. Bringing it home is ill-omened. My brother dismisses her concern, stating, "What do you know? A 3-legged creature possesses stability. Therefore, how malevolent could someone who loves kittens truly be? Even I am a testament to his compassion. He rescued me one rainy day when I was huddled in a corner. He glanced at me and remarked, 'Oh, a mushroom costume. Quite cool.' Cool? I was freezing to death, the world around me swaying precariously. Just as I was about to collapse, a hand reached out, with fingers prominently displayed through the torrential downpour, offering a piece of Wangzai milk candy nestled in the palm. My brother, slightly embarrassed, scratched his head and said, after rummaging through my pockets, 'This is all I have left.' I was so famished that a single piece of candy felt akin to abalone or lobster. I quickly tore open the wrapper. But as soon as it touched my tongue, I fainted. The last thing I saw before losing consciousness was my brother, panic-stricken, grabbing a passerby to explain, 'It's just candy.' I assure you, it's merely candy." When I regained consciousness, I found myself in my brother's home, surrounded by a plethora of cats in various colors and peculiar shapes. At the foot of my bed, a beagle stretched its tongue to lick my face. My brother approached, holding a bowl. "Finish your medicine, and you can leave." I remained silent, casting my eyes downward and pursing my lips. Unable to resist, he softened and, with a restless sweep of his hair exposing his pale, sharp forehead, he remarked, "I've never raised a child, you know." He surveyed the frolicking cats and dogs around us, then hesitantly mused, It's somewhat akin to caring for them?" Thus, it came to pass that my brother joyfully balanced 3 iron basins in each hand, with one clenched in his mouth, cheerfully announcing, "Dinner time." A throng of cats swarmed towards him, reminiscent of feeding chickens, while the dogs trailed behind, tongues lolling and eyes alight with anticipation. Yet they exhibited restraint, patiently waiting for the kittens to finish before scampering to lick the basins clean. I, too, sat among the dogs, waiting. My brother affectionately ruffled my hair, so well-behaved. He then handed me a Hello Kitty bowl filled with his homemade egg noodles and a marinated egg. He raised an eyebrow. "What do you think? To your brother impressive?" Impressive? The noodles were riddled with eggshells, and salt was used liberally. However, I kept my thoughts to myself and devoured it all. As I ate, tears welled in the steamy warmth. My brother, alarmed, floundered about, uncertain of how to react. "Why are you crying? Is it that delicious?" I ignored him, continuing to eat while tears streamed down my face. Seeing me weep incessantly, he anxiously paced around me, turning to the voracious cats and dogs. "Do you know what to do? Why are you only focused on eating, you useless creatures?" 2. My brother is perpetually busy. When I sleep, he is chasing the male protagonist. When I attend school, he continues his pursuit. Yet, the moment I mention a parent-teacher meeting, he instantly abandons his tasks and strides into the classroom, dressed extravagantly, swaggering over to my desk. The large gold chain around his neck sparkles, nearly blinding me. "I can't let my little sister lose face," he beams. During the distribution of grades, upon noticing my somewhat despondent demeanor, he reassures me, "It's all right. Not doing well, to the end. Your brother is wealthy. You will inherit my company and pig farm." After saying this, he grabs the ranking sheet, searching from the bottom. Hey, where's your name? The teacher didn't forget you, did they? When he finally spots my name at the top, his jaw drops in astonishment. You're making me proud. After holding back laughter for a moment, I finally smile. My brother pats my head. Little liar. Who taught you that? That evening, he took me out for a lavish dinner at a Western restaurant. He meticulously sliced his steak into tiny pieces. Just as he handed me the plate, his phone rang. On the other end, someone mentioned that the leads were going out on a date, providing the address. My brother's brows furrowed instantly as he retorted without a moment's thought, I'm having dinner with my sister. We'll talk later. The caller attempted to say more, but he abruptly ended the call. Eat up, little sister. He pushed the plate towards me and bent down to remove the fish bones from my meal. After dinner, he hurriedly took me home before rushing off, only to return late at night. Upon his return, he didn't even go to bed but instead lingered on the balcony, smoking one cigarette after another. I rubbed my eyes and opened the balcony door. He was crouched against the wall, his profile cold amid the swirling smoke. Yet his expression was forlorn. Upon closer inspection, I noticed his clothes were drenched, and he bore bruises beneath his eyes, as if he had been in a scuffle. When he saw me, he immediately extinguished the cigarette and rose. I was just smoking. Don't let it bother you. I pretended not to hear, slipping on my slippers to approach him, reaching up to touch the bruised area. The coolness of my fingers made his eyelashes flutter. Does it hurt? Not really. It doesn't hurt as much as when Cece and Haha bite. Cece and Haha are our family's cat and Siberian husky. I said nothing further and buried my head in his embrace. Brother, you need to shave. It's prickly. 3. Upon entering high school, I experienced a rapid growth spurt, transforming from a slender sprout into a graceful figure. My brother grew increasingly suspicious, casually inquiring each day, Hey, does your boyfriend happen to be tall? I frowned. I don't have a boyfriend. He breathed a sigh of relief. Haha, I must have remembered wrong. Every day, without fail. He picked me up from school, regardless of rain or shine, showering me with money. A casual rummage through my backpack revealed a plethora of crisp bills. When I asked him about it, he averted his gaze. Oh, it's probably Cece and Haha who brought it in. I understood that his generosity stemmed from a desire to prevent me from being swept away by some blonde-haired youth with a cup of milk tea. However, there isn't a single person in the entire school who is more handsome or wealthier than my brother. I reassured him. My brother's lips curled into an uncontainable smile at my flattery, just as long as you know. Yet. My proud brother is tirelessly playing the role of a devoted admirer for the female lead. When she fell ill, he raced over at breakneck speed. To his dismay, he discovered the leads passionately entwined in the hospital room. On the female lead's birthday, he spent half his fortune to purchase an exquisite and dazzling sapphire as her gift. Yet it paled in comparison to the ring made from a dog's tail by the male lead. From that moment onward, my brother harbored a deep-seated loathing for the impoverished youth. After being rejected for the 100th time, he still maintained a light-hearted demeanor. I'm such a great guy. She will surely come to her senses one day. The very next day, news of the couple's wedding broke the headlines. That night, my brother vanished. 5. At the hotel, my brother, Lu Zhongming, clutched the wedding invitation tightly. He pondered many thoughts. Should he interrupt the wedding or create a scene? Yet, all his plans dissipated upon seeing the girl in a white mermaid wedding gown, eyes sparkling with joy. He reminisced about that summer in high school when she taught him lessons, her soft hair cascading down. He recalled her standing beneath the fringed flowering tree, calling his name with a smile. All of these moments he had cherished alone for many years. However, ultimately, her happiness did not reside with him. In a moment of impulsiveness, driven by his obsessions and resentment, he committed numerous misdeeds. At this moment, he knew he must undertake one final act of righteousness. Thus, as the couple on stage exchanged rings, he rose to applaud. Like all the other guests, his clapping even more vigorous than theirs. Petals cascaded from above, and he reached out to catch one, clenching it tightly. Lu Choming pondered that it was time for him to exit. Consequently, as the protagonists embraced in bliss, he discreetly typed a few words and sent them. Congratulations on your marriage. With that, he quietly slipped out through the back door. But what lay beyond his exit? Leaning against the wall, he lit another cigarette, feeling a sense of bewilderment. Once his obsession faded, It signified an emptiness in his heart and a barrenness of his soul. For the first half of his life, he had tirelessly pursued others. Suddenly halting now, he felt an acute sense of discomfort. It seemed there was no longer a need to continue living. She was genuinely happy now without him. Even the wealth he had painstakingly accumulated over the years was once merely a means to provide her with a safety net. Now, nothing seemed to matter. Lu Chongming felt an overwhelming fatigue wash over him. Slowly, he sank to the ground, wrapping his arms tightly around himself. Perhaps it was time for a long, uninterrupted slumber. A dream from which he would never awaken. Brother! Finally locating him, I found my brother curled into a ball, his head buried deep in his arms. I had never seen him like this before. In the dense rain and fog, he resembled a silent, wilting tree, withering away in solitude. Love, indeed, was a cruel affliction. I approached, feigning nonchalance. "Hey, brother, cool mushroom cosplay, huh?" The man paused for a moment before slowly lifting his head. What is so cool about it? It was then that I noticed the bloodshot veins in his eyes and the furrowed brow. I refrained from mentioning anything further. I crouched down and gently tugged at his sleeve. "Brother, I can't sleep when you're not home. You know, my brother has always been soft-hearted." So, regardless of the circumstances, he would respond as he did now. He stood up, took my hand, and said, "All right, let us go home." Once home, my brother locked himself in his room, neglecting even the cats and dogs. Alarm bells rang in my mind. After all, he treated those cats like treasures. The dog, oblivious. Didn't he care? Yet now, the cats were desperately rubbing against him, and he acted as though he didn't see them at all. The door slammed shut with a bang. It seemed my brother was genuinely heartbroken. It was quite challenging to console my sorrowful brother. I waited outside the door for an entire day without seeing him emerge, only daring to test the waters via text. "Brother, I can't solve this problem." He quickly replied, "Wait." 5 minutes later, he sent me a detailed solution. Well, as long as he was still around, that was all that mattered. To confirm his well-being, I began sending him a question every half hour: math, physics, English, biology, geography, until I casually found another problem online and sent it over. Suddenly, the door swung open with a click. My brother stood there, hands on his hips, laughing in exasperation. "You're studying calculus in your first year?" I looked down and realized my blunder. "Oops, my mistake." "I'm fine," he said, pinching my cheek. "No need to worry." Nonsense. I could clearly see the tear stains on his face, still fresh. But I knew he valued his pride. "So, are we having dinner, brother? Mom made your favorite squirrel fish." He patted his stomach. "I suppose I am a bit hungry. Let us go." During dinner, my brother seemed lost in thought. The audacious cats jumped onto the table, trying to drink from the bowl, but he didn't even react, merely eating in silence. "Brother, what is it, little girl?" He suddenly snapped back to reality. "Did you burn yourself?" "Not me." I pointed to the dog on the floor, yelping in distress. Meow Meow stepped on it when she jumped down. Meow Meow was our fattest cat, weighing nearly 30 pounds. A single step could leave a bruise, or worse. As was the case with the poor dog. My brother glanced down, unfazed, and continued eating. "It's fine. It is tough skin. Dog for my peanuts." "Brother." As soon as I returned home from school, I eagerly knocked on his door. You won't believe what I found. This time, my brother's tear-stained eyes were not well concealed. He feigned a yawn, pretending to have just awakened. "What is it?" I pushed the child behind me forward. "Dada. What do you think?" "No time to waste." The boy looked up, his pale, clean face framed by dark, calm eyes. My brother's eyes widened. "Lu Chongxue, where did you kidnap this child from?" I pouted in grievance. "Why are you yelling at me?" My brother softened his tone, gently repeating, "Where did you kidnap this child from, Lu Chongxue?" Satisfied, I explained, "He ran away from the orphanage at the intersection. I bought him a bun. And he has been following me for 3 days." My brother fell silent. We both knew that orphanage well. The caregivers and teachers were known for mistreating the children. The food was mostly cabbage and radish, with meat only appearing once a week, making it worse than prison. My brother had donated a few times, and during his visits, the children still looked starved and bruised, while the director had grown considerably plump, his face gleaming with grease. Understanding this, my brother stopped donating money and began contributing supplies instead. Brother, he was beaten badly and snuck out a week ago. I nudged the boy forward, speaking cautiously. My brother nodded in understanding. It's like a prison there. How did you escape? The boy blinked and softly replied, through the dog hole. My brother chuckled, reaching out to pat his head. Quite clever. But the boy tilted his head to avoid the gesture. Still don't want to be touched? My brother was intrigued. Dirty. The boy stated matter-of-factly. How polite. Worried about dirtying my hands. My brother was pleased. He reached out again. It's all right, I don't mind. Yet the boy quickly dodged again. I interjected softly. Brother, it seems he thinks you're dirty. My brother. Suddenly, our home was graced with the presence of a child. My brother had no time for emo moments anymore. He busied himself with adoption paperwork and name changes. The boy's original name was Chinku, which made my brother frown. What a ridiculous name. No parent would name their child that. He waved his hand dismissively. From now on, he'll take my surname, Lu Chongyu. That sounds much better. After the name change, he treated us to a grand meal. However, Lu Chongyu only took a few bites before declaring he was full. I immediately cast a sympathetic glance his way. After all, in our home, sick cats and dogs struggled to eat, and my brother would spoon-feed them while murmuring, "Is that enough, kid? If you're quiet, it means it's not enough. Let us eat a bit more." After several such occurrences, the most food-guarding dog in the house learned to be clever. At mealtime, it would sprint faster than anyone else. Not towards the dog food, but in the opposite direction, finding a hiding place, terrified of my brother's merciless iron hand. Just as expected. Upon hearing the phrase "I can't eat anymore," my brother seemed to trigger some sort of switch within him. He resolutely requested a spoon from the waiter and forcibly fed Lu Zhongyu half a plate of steak. Lu Zhongyu remained silent. That evening, my brother had no time to indulge in melancholy over a photo with the female lead, shedding secret tears. Not only did he have to check my homework, but he also had to tutor Lu Zhongyu. As we enter high school, the subjects became increasingly challenging. My mind struggled to keep pace. I had even achieved the dubious honor of scoring just 33 points in physics, yet shamelessly clung to the position of class representative. The physics teacher had subtly suggested that I relinquish my role to a more capable student, but I feigned ignorance. After all, I could copy assignments freely during collection. Our family had contemplated hiring a tutor, but my brother dismissed the idea entirely. I am a dual-degree PhD graduate from Hucking, who could possibly rival my authority. Consequently, my brother not only worked during the day but also stayed up late with us until 11 or 12, utterly exhausted by the end of the day. The photo with the female lead collected dust in the corner of the table, and the sleeping pills were tucked away deep in the drawer. Observing his slumbering figure, I wore a satisfied smile. What did the female lead matter? I possessed ample strength and means. Surprisingly, Lu Zhongyu was remarkably intelligent. He grasped even the most obscure knowledge almost instantaneously, quickly catching up to my pace. I cradled his head in frustration, exclaiming, "How is this fair? Give me some of that." Lu Zhongyu, expressionless, continued working through his problems, undisturbed by my lamentations. My brother entered the room, bringing us fruit, and before leaving, he playfully asked for a kiss on the head from each of us, only to be dodged by Lu Zhongyu. My brother wore an injured expression. "You disdain me again." Lu Zhongyu hesitated momentarily, his pen pausing as he lowered his head and leaned in, murmuring, "Pet me." My brother beamed with joy, akin to teasing a cat or dog, and gleefully ruffled his hair before departing, satisfied. Lu Zhongyu calmly glanced at his disheveled hair in the mirror, letting out a soft sigh. "Be more affectionate with him, and I'll share my allowance with you." I reached out to tidy his hair, but he instinctively recoiled. After a moment's hesitation, he steadied himself. "I suspect my brother is depressed," I mused. Lu Zhongyu's pupils constricted, but he immediately displayed a look of skepticism. "Oh, don't be fooled by his daily cheerfulness. It's all an act. My brother is quite the performer, just a grand charlatan. In truth, when we head off to school, he secretly hides away to weep. And he cries quite pathetically. He suffered a heartbreak. He loved a girl for nearly 20 years, only to see her marry the man he loathes the most. He professed his love 100 times, lavishing her with flowers, diamond rings, and luxury cruises, yet she steadfastly refused to marry anyone but that man. Moreover, that man is quite poor. Who wouldn't he break down under such circumstances? I truly can't comprehend it. As I spoke passionately, I climbed onto the table, snatching Lu Zhongyu's homework from his hands. How can you, at such a young age, lack a sense of gossip? I just can't fathom why my brother, being so kind-hearted, handsome, and wealthy, is rejected. My brother's voice echoed from the doorway, filled with indignation and sorrow. Exactly. Ultimately, I concluded, unless that woman has lost her mind. My brother, frustrated, kicked the door open. Nonsense. I glared at him. Eavesdropping is such a petty act. And why are adults interrupting a child's conversation? He lunged at me, attempting to cover my mouth, but I retaliated by tugging at his hair. We descended into a playful scuffle. Meanwhile, in an unnoticed corner, Lu Zhongyu quietly picked up the homework that had been trampled underfoot, heaving a heavy sigh. Since Lu Zhongyu's arrival, my brother's workload had significantly lightened. As my brother would say, he possesses remarkable perceptiveness. When the cat litter needed changing, Lu Zhongyu, without needing to be reminded, donned a mask and took a small spoon to scoop it out. The nearly dying plants in the bedroom rejuvenated under his meticulous care. He also enjoyed gardening, though the cats often wreaked havoc upon his efforts. Lu Zhongyu remained unfazed, calmly crouching down to gently move the cats aside and patiently tidy the soil scattered on the floor. You wouldn't even know to right the oil bottle if it toppled over, my brother teased, nudging my head. I dismissed him, just by another bottle. My brother retorted, you little spendthrift. Lu Zhongyu and I were in the same grade but not in the same class. Each evening after finishing his homework, he would come to find me at the entrance of my classroom. At this time, the boy had grown rapidly, his slim figure standing tall with an indifferent gaze, catching the attention of my classmates. They gawked in awe. Who is that? So handsome. Who is he looking for? I stood up, striding confidently through the envious stares, tossing my backpack forward, which Lu Zhongyu caught with ease. I tiptoed and triumphantly hooked my arm around his neck, declaring, let us go. The crowd erupted in excitement. He's here for Lu Zhongxue. I heard they're siblings. No way, they don't look alike at all. He must be her younger brother. Don't say that. They actually make a good pair. I maintained a composed demeanor, internally reveling in the delight. Brother, dear brother, I called him softly. Lu Zhongyu replied with a simple I continued, could you crouch down a bit? You're too tall, and my feet are getting tired from tiptoeing. Lu Zhongyu remained silent. However, as soon as we exited the teaching building, Lu Zhongyu detached my arm from around his neck, slinging his black backpack over his shoulder and striding forward. I pouted. What's so great about having long legs? Lu Zhongyu seemed to hear me, tilting his head slightly, his pace gradually slowing. I felt satisfied and re-wrapped my arm around his neck. Lu Zhongyu frowned, his lips pressed together as if pondering something. In the next moment, he shoved the hem of his shirt into my hand. I stared at him. Just the hem? How stingy. I want to hold your hand. Lu Zhongyu's eyelashes fluttered. No. Why not? When I pressed further, he fell silent, shoving both hands deep into his pockets. Who are you guarding against? Who cares? Suddenly, I recalled something. Hey, have you seen that short video where the younger brother comes to class to deliver a fake love letter to his sister, boosting her popularity? I nudged him with my elbow. You should do that for me. My popularity in class has been waning lately. No. Forget it. I don't expect much from you anyway. I'll just ask my friend's brother to do it. This time, Lu Zhongyu pressed his lips together tightly, refusing to let me hold onto the hem, yanking it away and marching ahead in silence. I was taken aback. What's wrong, Lu brother? Upon returning home, my brother was already seated at the dining table. You've arrived just in time. Aunt Zhang made your favorite sweet and sour ribs today. Upon hearing this, my eyes lit up, and I rushed over to grab a piece to taste, only to yelp in pain from the heat. My brother rushed over. Look at you. So impatient. I've told you several times. Spit it out. Lu Zhongyu was quicker than my brother, and before I could react, I had already spat the food onto his hand. Aren't you worried about the mess, little brother? I exclaimed, as if I had discovered a new continent. My brother seized me by the nape of my neck, lifting me as if I were a cat. Hurry and find some cool water to rinse your mouth. Lu Zhongyu and I had a smooth experience during the college entrance examination, with just 100 points separating our scores. Both of us chose schools within the same city. That evening, my brother set up 3 banquet tables, yet only one was filled. Aside from myself, my brother, and my younger sibling, the only other attendees were Aunt Zhang and Driver Lu. The atmosphere grew somewhat awkward. I leaned into my brother, whispering, "Brother, where are the guests you invited?" He slammed his hand on the table, exclaiming, "Didn't I tell you to invite your classmates? Have you forgotten that I've offended everyone I could over the years?" I replied, "Oh, right." I then turned to blame Lu Chongyu. "Why didn't you invite your classmates?" Lu Chongyu, calmly munching on vegetables, replied, "I don't know them." I was left speechless. My brother was equally at a loss. Just when we thought my brother would gradually recover, a new family moved into the neighboring villa. My brother and I decided to pay them a visit, hoping to make new friends, and we brought Lu Chongyu along. However, when the door opened, I found myself locking eyes with the female lead. She wore a pink silk nightgown, her belly beautifully rounded. Despite her pregnancy, her features remained striking. I exclaimed, "Wanla." My brother gasped, and Lu Chongyu was rendered speechless. A familiar male voice echoed from inside. "Who's the wife?" Oh no! It was undoubtedly the male lead. I quickly grabbed my brother and younger sibling, turning to flee. This was absurd. How could the neighbors be the male and female leads? Not only were they blissfully in love, but they were also expecting a child. Was this a direct attack on my brother? It was utterly lacking in decorum. Sure enough, upon returning home, my brother locked himself in his room. Lu Chongyu, perplexed, asked, "What was that about?" My expression turned grave as I warned, "Remember, they are our future adversaries. We shall sell them health supplements when they grow old." Lu Chongyu remained silent, deep in thought. I knocked on the door, calling, "Brother, come out for dinner. I brought back your favorite AD calcium milk." There was no response, only the muffled sound of suppressed sobs. Oh no, my brother's depression has relapsed. I paced anxiously. Lu Chongyu advised, "Don't panic." He then calmly entered the password, opening the door. I was astounded. "How did you know?" He replied, "Once, when his fingerprint failed, he used the password, and I remembered it." I was left speechless. With such intellect, they were clearly the protagonists, while I remained merely a supporting character. I objected. On the expansive bed of Lu's 10-square-meter room, a lump was discernible. Lu Chongyu and I lay on opposite sides, comforting my brother by patting his back. "Brother, can't you just let go? After all, she's already pregnant." My brother paused momentarily, but then cried even louder. I desperately rifled through my thoughts. "Though you may have missed one flower, an entire sea of blossoms awaits you." As soon as I spoke, I remembered. "But it's winter now, there are no flowers." My brother was speechless. After a prolonged silence, I opened my mouth again, only to be stopped by Lu Chongyu, saying, "Let him have some peace." So, we both lay back, staring at the ceiling in silence. Before long, we drifted off to sleep. When I awoke, something was poking at my forehead. I looked up to find my brother's stubble. He had one arm around me and the other around Lu Chongyu, both still deeply asleep. I nestled back into my brother's embrace and suddenly noticed fine wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. My brother was only 28, yet he seemed aged. Nonetheless, he remained quite handsome, with those long, curled eyelashes and pronounced brow bones. He resembled Takashi Kaneshiro. Turning my head, I noticed my younger brother also looked quite dapper, his skin glowing. I felt satisfied. Their looks were certainly favorable for future boyfriend standards. This was the third time I found my brother on the rooftop. The evening breeze was cool as he sat in the limitless night, smoking one cigarette after another. The red glow flickered, enveloping his broad yet lonely silhouette in a haze. I feared that one day he might truly succumb to despair and leap off. Thus, I quietly conferred with Lu Chongyu about a strategy. Currently, aside from money, my brother has only us left. Perhaps we've left him too idle lately, making him feel unnecessary. If we truly rendered ourselves unnecessary, he might not hesitate to jump. Therefore, the next day, I intentionally instigated a fight. When my brother was summoned to the counselor's office, I sported a bandage on my nose. My head bowed as I cautiously regarded him. As expected, when he looked at me, a frown creased his brow. I shut my eyes, silently praying for a milder reprimand. To my astonishment, he asked, "Who would dare to harm my well-behaved sister?" His icy gaze swept across the table. I could hardly believe my ears. I quickly raised my head to meet his eyes. The principal wiped sweat from his brow, chuckling. Could it be that your sister was the one who attacked someone else? Impossible, my brother retorted, his brow furrowing. She has been so kind since childhood that she wouldn't even dare to step on an ant. Brother, you're making me cry. Brother, you're so cool. I immediately sparkled with admiration. For a brief moment, my brother's imposing demeanor faltered as he raised an eyebrow. Not bad, right? But the next moment he could no longer smile. The security captain had reviewed the surveillance footage, which clearly showed me kicking the boy first. Of course, I had paid them to enact the scene. My injury was merely a result of my overly enthusiastic performance when pretending to be pushed and accidentally scraped by a branch. He could never know this. I immediately feigned guilt, lowering my head. I'm sorry, brother. To my surprise, my brother rewound the footage, unable to suppress his admiration. You know, that kick of yours was quite impressive. The principal was left speechless, and I was equally astonished. Realizing the misunderstanding, my brother awkwardly scratched his head and said, I apologize for the earlier misjudgment. The principal quickly interjected, since the students have reconciled, there's no issue. Thank you, Mr. Liu, for your time. My brother waved his hand, then let us donate 2 more undergraduate teaching buildings. The principal nearly collapsed in gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Liu. Once outside, I clung to my brother's arm. Brother, you're the best. You can resolve everything with ease. You know I can't live without you. He chuckled softly, gently smoothing my stray hair behind my ear. Little rascal, behave yourself next time. I readily agreed, though internally I thought otherwise. Behaving was out of the question. The following day, I called out to Huang Mao from my department. Hey. He turned, his muscular build and fierce expression intimidating. I trembled slightly. Haha, Huang Mao. Would you like a little part-time job? His brow furrowed in suspicion. I hastily waved my hands. Forget it. But before I could finish, he pouted, his enormous fist covering his eyes. Can you not call me Huang Mao? My hair color is natural. I was stunned. Are you mixed? He nodded. From Hebei. Raised in Tianjin. I thought, forget the geography, as long as you can help me. That night, my brother positioned himself closer to the edge of the rooftop. I understood why. From a distance, I could still hear the faint laughter of the male and female leads swinging in the backyard of the neighboring villa. It was too heart-wrenching. Seeing my brother on the verge of tears, I mustered my courage and led Huang Mao up to the rooftop. Brother, look. I have a boyfriend. I can scarcely forget the expression on my brother's face as he turned to me and the blonde lad beside me. From an initial haze of confusion to sheer astonishment, then to wrath, culminating in an almost bloodshot glare. Liu Chongxue, he exclaimed, leaping from the rooftop, shoes hastily donned. Sensing the impending storm, I quickly seized the blonde lad and fled. He ran with bewilderment. Why didn't you mention there was a life-threatening situation? I retorted. Just think of the extra cash I'll offer you. Hurry, don't let my brother catch up. Ultimately, we were still pursued. The blonde lad sprinted ahead, bursting through the door just in time, while I lagged a step behind, helplessly watching the door slam shut before my eyes. My brother's darkened gaze bore into me, a cold smirk adorning his lips as he advanced. You certainly know how to choose a partner, one who runs away like this, abandoning even your own girlfriend. Backed against the door, terror coursing through me, I stammered, pushing at his shoulder. Brother, I was wrong. He remained silent, his eyes a profound abyss, reminiscent of icy waters ready to engulf. I had never witnessed such a side of him before. Regret flooded my heart. Noticing my weakening knees, he finally took a step back, yet his hand rose ominously, poised to strike. I shut my eyes, bracing for impact, but instead, his hand gently rested atop my head. End it. You deserve better than someone who doesn't truly care for you. Settling for indifference is exhausting. When I opened my eyes again, he had already departed, his imposing silhouette marked by solitude. I felt a sudden weight upon my heart. Oh dear! How had I managed to evoke such melancholy in my brother? My plans had failed. Plan B was set into motion. The next day, upon barging into my brother's bedroom, I discovered not only was his arm bleeding, but he was also pouring pills into his palm, cold white tablets resting in his hand, reminding me of the milk candy I had once found when I brought him home. But brother, those pills are bitter, devoid of sweetness. Taking a deep breath, I shouted, Wait. Brother, look at this. You're going to be an uncle. Are you happy? My brother turned back, confusion etched on his face. His pupils contracted upon seeing the prenatal checkup paper in my hand. Seizing the moment, I pressed on. What do you think, brother? Will it be a boy or a girl? Suddenly, an unsettling silence enveloped the room. My brother was methodically extracting the pills lodged in his throat, wrapping gauze around his wrist with an unsettling calm. I cautiously inquired, Brother, are you going to be okay? He scoffed, lifting a feather duster. Yes, I'm fine. I fear you might end up bringing a little blonde imp to dance on my grave. As he approached, my lips trembled in fear, and I stumbled backward. Haha, as long as you're alive, that's what matters. Abruptly, I remembered something and sealed my lips. I mustn't reveal the truth. If he thought I was jesting, he might contemplate despair again. Forcing myself to remain rooted in place, I thought, let him strike, let him strike. My dearest brother, this pain is trivial. Dry your tears, fear not, for we still have dreams to pursue. By heavens, why was I singing? Just before the feather duster descended, I instinctively recoiled. Yet the next moment, a gentle breeze stirred behind me, and I was enveloped in a tight embrace. Simultaneously, a sharp crack echoed. The one holding me shuddered. I looked up, bewildered, to find myself in Lu Chongyu's arms. As I gazed up, my eyes met his taut jaw. He was neither closing his eyes nor evading the situation, but remained poised, calmly locking eyes with my brother. My brother was momentarily stunned, discarding the feather duster, rushing to inspect his wounds. Lu Chongyu, what are you doing? Yet Lu Chongyu held onto me firmly. Pressed against his chest, I could feel his warmth and heartbeat. Brother, that prenatal checkup paper is fake. I printed it for my sister. My brother's hand froze above the wound. After explaining my recent peculiar behavior, my brother sat across from us on the sofa, his hands resting dejectedly on his legs, head bowed. This is partly my fault. I did entertain thoughts of self-harm, but your faces kept surfacing in my mind, preventing me from going through with it. Having both of you truly brings me happiness. I won't blame fate for its injustices or ask for anything more. And the pills I took were merely vitamins, not sleeping pills. What about your wrist? I pressed further. Oh, I merely scratched it while watering the plants. He then lifted his head, smiling at us. Really. Tears welled in my eyes, and I leapt into his embrace. Brother, we love you too. Also, how about we move away? I mumbled into his chest. I don't want to see them anymore. Let's find our own corner and be happy together. Lu Chongyu hesitated for a moment before rising to embrace us both. However, our brief respite of harmony lasted only 2 days before Lu Chongyu's biological parents arrived, tears glistening in their eyes as they grasped his hands. We finally found you. I had long grown accustomed to such feigned displays of emotion, knowing that some had impersonated others for my brother's benefits. Watching their theatrics unfold, I waved dismissively, but then I heard Lu Chongyu, who had remained silent, softly call, Dad.
Mom.
I froze, realizing they were indeed his biological parents. I pulled him back. You were so young when you got lost. Are you sure? He lowered his head. I have a good memory. I can't be mistaken. I was momentarily at a loss for words, unsure of what to say or whether to ask him if he would leave. After all, that was his true home, and we were merely outsiders. We had no right to persuade him. Oh, that's wonderful. I forced a smile, feeling utterly disheartened. Yawning, I waved my hand. Just let me know when you leave. As the bedroom door closed, I collapsed onto my bed. A while later, I indeed heard the sounds of him packing in the adjacent room. Damn it, he was truly leaving. I buried myself under the covers, stifling my urge to burst out and shout, You scoundrel, have you forgotten the bond we share? Just then, a knock resounded at my door. Hey, dear, aren't you coming out to bid farewell to your brother? Farewell? I should be charging out to give him a piece of my mind for being so ungrateful after all these years of companionship and kinship. No thanks, brother. You all can go. I heard the sound of suitcase wheels rolling, but their footsteps lingered at my door for only a few seconds before swiftly departing. The summer break, without Lu Chongyu, was unbearably dull. I missed our gaming sessions, the laughter, the spontaneous midnight hikes. Lying on the grass beneath the stars while being mercilessly bitten by mosquitoes, of course, only I was the one yelping in agony. Lu Chongyu would calmly rise to swat the mosquitoes for me. Overall, he was quite a decent fellow, wasn't he? I went a little insane. Yet he never seemed to mind. I could hit him, and he wouldn't retaliate, obediently doing whatever I asked, like a well-behaved puppy. But now, my little puppy had unhesitatingly departed from my side. Damn it, it hurt. Thus began my solitary journey through the 28th day of summer vacation. Yet there were no messages from him on my phone. A profound sense of disappointment enveloped me as I languidly sat by the bay window, basking in the sunlight. Suddenly, in the distance along the road, a slender and disheveled figure approached. I could scarcely believe my eyes. It was Lu Chongyu. He had returned. Almost unable to contain my excitement, I rushed out the door, just as Lu Chongyu reached the entrance. Our gazes locked through the door. And it was then I noticed that he had tanned slightly, his suitcase in tatters, and he appeared to have run the entire way, breathing slightly heavily. Upon seeing me, his eyes sparkled with recognition. "Oh, couldn't he stay away from home, reminiscing about our good times, so you decided to come back?" he teased. Lu Chongyu remained silent, his gaze fixed intently upon me. The gentle sunlight danced in his eyes, shimmering like ripples of water, as if he wished to absorb every moment we had missed. "Well then, I suppose I shall reluctantly accept your presence." I opened the door, and before I could extend my arms, he lunged forward, enveloping me in a warm embrace. "I'm sorry, I missed you so much." Only later did I learn that Lu Chongyu had been in such a hurry to resolve issues related to his household registration back home. He had initially planned to return in just a few days, but circumstances at home forced him to stay longer, leaving him busy and preoccupied. His phone had unexpectedly broken, severing our means of communication. Ultimately, he borrowed a phone to reach out to me, which tugged at my heartstrings. I fervently piled delicious food onto his plate, and he accepted it all without hesitation, savoring each bite I offered. My brother raised his glass, proclaiming, "Let's toast to our reunion." Under the soft glow of the lights, we lifted our glasses, clinking them together. The sound rang out, crisp and melodious, resonating with joy. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next tale together.